So first off, your name.
Larry Peyton.
Fair enough.
So Larry Peyton of Noka Oi Drone Guys. It's a Hawaiian term, actually. I'm very big on the Hawaiian culture. It means the best, and I don't really think I'm the best per se, not at all. But I like the ideology behind the Hawaiian culture that it's, if you take care of the land and the sea will take care of you in return. And so the major, viewpoint of the Lighthouse project is that it's take care of the land and the sea. These things are on land, but to protect us when we're at the sea. And if we look after these things, then the philosophy is that they will in turn look after us. Nova Scotia Lighthouse Project, it's a hashtag NS Lighthouse Project, all one word. The ideology of it is to capture every lighthouse in the province of Nova Scotia with the use of a drone, and then to share that information, those videos, the footage, the pictures, the aerial shots with everybody globally. It's not a funded thing. It's not a commercial venture. It's a hobby. It's a labor of love, and the idea is to get every one of them. When I started the project, I had absolutely no concept of how many lights there were here. I thought maybe at most 50 or 60, and I thought I was really actually being generous. But Nova Scotia has the most lighthouses for any province in Canada, at a total of approximately 180. And it's approximately because there's really no one that visits these enough to know which ones are still standing and which ones are down. And it can change almost overnight. I got the drone to capture family vacations. The idea was to be able to put the drone up and get that panoramic view. A lot of times you try with an iPhone just to come around, whereas the drone can give you that shot, that aerial shot. And so when we go somewhere, it's the idea of this is what it was like here when we visited this place. As I was, getting some practice with the drone and flying and wanting to capture my area where I was, obviously in love with the ocean and lighthouses being from Newfoundland, I decided to capture a lighthouse out in Cape Breton. Flew around, and just before I finished the flight, we saw two people happen to come on the area. So once the flight was finished, went over and talked to them, because there's some people that are concerned about the drone. So I went over and talked to them, and I accidentally interrupted a CBC radio interview that was going on about that this lighthouse had won money, it won prize, and if it didn't win that money, apparently they wouldn't be able to replace the breakwater, with the expectation then that within 3 or 4 years, that was a nice one, within 3 or 4 years, the lighthouse would be gobbled by the North Atlantic. So it was on the drive home that I got to think, I had no idea that lighthouses were in this kind of dire straits. The idea then was to go out and capture every one. Why Nova Scotia? Well, this is where I'm living now. I've lived in Newfoundland, I've lived in Saskatchewan and Alberta and in Ontario. Living out west is what made me realize how much I miss the ocean and took it for granted. And so I promised myself that I would never do that, if I ever got back this way. And happily I did, and I've stuck to that. I've not taken the ocean for granted. The adventure has been amazing. Like, I have seen more of this province than I bet most people who live in Nova Scotia or from Nova Scotia. And I mean, I know in Newfoundland, like, I'm guilty of the same thing. I'm born and raised in Newfoundland, but I've realized there's so many parts of my home that I haven't seen, and you just need to get off the major highways and go to the back roads. We always seem to think that everything is south of the border, and there is so much that you just need to go explore, to look at. And the cool thing about here is that you don't need to blow a week for it. You can take a weekend, take a day, you've got a holiday coming up, a long weekend. There's some great, beautiful spots to go in these provinces, and each province has them, and that's been what's really cool about this adventure, is to know some of these small communities, to have made acquaintances in some of these small communities. I've made, and again, here you go, there's another cheesy line for you. I've made some of my best friends because of the Lighthouse Project. And it just seems to be everywhere I move, I seem to get involved or interested in something. So in Ontario, it was my band, right? Streets of Hastings. And so, what happens with Streets of Hastings? What's one of the cool offsites of it? Well, did I get to play music? Yeah. Was it fun? Yeah. Did we record an album and tour? Yeah. But what's the biggest thing about it? Well, I made some of my best friends in the world to this day because of that band. That's where I met you. That's where I met Phil. And then I started meeting your friends and Trucker and then their families. And now, you know, at least 2 or 3 times a year we get together and you know, hang out despite the distance between us. And so I truly believe that this project looked for me. Why is it that on that day, at that time, in that place, did I happen to fly my drone where an interview was going on about the lighthouse was in danger? It just, there's a lot of, I don't know, man, there's a lot of things that would have to line up, and it's odd, but yeah, it seems that I was supposed to do that, so I do it, and I love it, and I make an adventure out of it. I know I'm cheesy, man, but I'm passionate.
Do it. That's what it is. But it's